streak is over, but as it would have it, the way the schedule it is, where the streak started, you're kind of right back at it, except this time you get these two teams at home.
Yeah, the streak was just trying to keep winning one game, and we played a decent first half at New Mexico, and then the second half for defense wasn't as strong, and we went through the third quarter, missed 7 layups. There's other things that probably affected the game, but it was our 3-point field goal percentage defense and our inability to finish some baskets in the third quarter that would have extended the lead. And so we've watched film, we've talked about it, we worked on it, and now we're getting ready for another gritty, tough Kennesaw State team.
Kind of going off that, Coach, I mean, kind of the first time back on the road in a little bit. I mean, it was definitely a long road trip. What are some things that you really learned about the girls, I mean, just from this road trip? I mean, it had to be tough physically, mentally, just going out there and playing these couple games. But just coming off that road trip, what do you really learn about them?
You sound like you run the road trip with us. It is. It's a long trip. You're not this one. You want to go out and do it. It's hard. It's hard on the student athletes. It's hard on everybody. It's a long trip. It was warmer. That was nice. But we try to stay focused on our routine, and it gets harder when you're getting up at 3 a.m. to get on a flight and you're flying all day, and then you're trying to get into practice and get in film, and you change time zones, and so it's hard to try to stick to that routine. The girls, I thought, did a great job in learning their scout and being prepared for the game. We adjusted a little bit to the elevation difference. I think that affected us some in the UTEP game, and I noticed it towards the fourth quarter, and partly because I didn't sub as much as maybe we should have. But just kind of the way the game played out there, got to some spots where I felt like we needed to stick with the players that were on the court. But there were a lot of different things that I felt like we learned, and we can carry forward hopefully into this next 9-game stretch here as we play everybody again. But they've come back. We had a good practice yesterday. We'll have another. I'm confident we'll have another focused, high energy practice again today. We're working on making layups still, and we start practice every day on that, and the girls are aware of that. But even in this game, uncharacteristically, we had 18 turnovers. And that's something we've just not been turning the ball over quite like that. And there were just some silly things. We had a lot of walks, and those are the things that really cost us the ball game. We missed some easy shots that we needed to put in. We gave too many possessions away. If we get closer to 11, 12 turnovers, give us 6 more possessions. We don't have to improve our field goal percentage, and that'd be a difference in the ball game. And then we put them at the free throw line too much, and they're a really good free throw shooting team. They got 8 seniors that are contributing, and so that makes them. They're going to be a tough team, again when we play them, but also a tough team to play in the tournament.
Coming off that New Mexico State game, I mean, y'all have yet to really been able to eclipse that team so far since they joined Conference USA. But one of the things, I mean, going into halftime up 11, next thing you know, you're only up 3. Then, I mean, New Mexico State, the last field goal that they really made was towards the beginning of that fourth quarter. The rest of them were free throws.
Yep.
And so do you think it may be not necessarily tired, but just kind of getting down there, not necessarily playing very physical defense, but just kind of just like those old reaching fouls, getting into the free throw line. Next thing you know, they're scoring double digits from the strike.
I think it's some of that, but I also think it was really heady play on New Mexico State's part. They kind of baited us into some fouls. We kind of got out of balance or out of position, and they kind of got us in spots where we just fouled. And some of it was we had rebounds and we weren't strong with the ball. We would get a defensive board and they knock it loose, and then we react, and we got some really silly fouls. And I think some of that was frustration carried from the offensive end. You miss a layup, you shoot the ball over the goal, miss a 3, whatever it is, and you come back down and you're just frustrated. And so I think it's a combination of things. But I think Molly's there's a reason she's leading the conference in scoring, and she's a really smart player, and she can get you into trouble. And 2 points at the free throw line is equal to 2 points inside the 3-point line as well. And so she kept getting to the free throw line as well, and just played a lot smarter ball than we did defensively.
The halfway point of the conference season, what do you think you learned from your team, and where do you feel they're at, as you get ready for this second half
I think our depth is starting to be more productive. And that's something that we was one of the goals heading into the season, was get taller and get deeper. And we got bigger, but when you add a lot of new players, sometimes it takes a little time to gel. And so you're seeing improved play from those players that are coming off the floor. And I know we stuck with a tighter rotation against UTEP, but I think that's one area that we're improving. I think the defense has still been pretty solid. Now we've not done a good job. I'll tell you, even getting ready for Kennesaw State. We were in control of the game at Kennesaw, and then we let a couple players start hitting threes in the fourth quarter, just like happened in the third and fourth quarter at New Mexico. And we've done this consistently, kind of lost our focus on guarding that three-point line late in ball games. So that's an area we've got to continue to work on. But I think the defense has been pretty solid. Throughout the year, we've gotten better at really maintaining those possessions, generating turnovers, getting steals. We've had games where we've done better on the defensive boards, and we have games where we've not done better. And it's not always tied to winning and losing. So we're just still working on, it's not always tied to the result of our ball game. It's always tied to winning and losing, but it's not always been tied to the result of our ball game. But we've got to continue to work on those areas, making sure that when we're up 11 or 13, that we come out and we're able to maintain and extend that lead and not find ourselves back in a 2 or 3 point ball game. And so some of that's just decision making, continue to work on taking care of the ball, finishing easy shots, and then not putting the other team at the free throw line or putting them in the bonus early in the quarter. And so we're still a work in progress. We're not in a bad spot. We're not where we want to be, but we just got to keep grinding and keep working at it.
The two teams coming in this week, start with Kennesaw State. That's a team that, if you look at it, are playing a lot better than maybe their record indicates. They're going to be a challenge, and then you throw in Jacksonville State, and Rick's teams are always those tough, gritty teams that really just want to grind it out. Two distinct challenges this weekend.
Well, and they both play real aggressive defense, and both Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State, but Jacksonville State does a great job of guarding the three-point line. I think they're number 1 in the conference in three-point field goal percentage, and I think they're about 4th or I forget in the nation in three-point field goal percentage defense. And so they don't give a lot of good looks at the three-point line. And Kennesaw State also does a really good job of forcing turnovers and playing aggressive defense. So we've got to take care of the ball. We've got to work for quality shots. We've got to stick with what worked well with us, what worked well for us at Jacksonville and Kennesaw was good ball movement. And we've got to continue to move the ball, hunt those uncontested shots. When our assists are high, that means we're getting good quality shots, and that makes us harder to guard.
It's got to be good, though, to look in both games where when the shots aren't falling maybe like you want to, there are some defensive lapses, there's always going to be, but if they're not really letting it fester that much compared to, maybe some previous teams where that turned into a problem.
No, we kept fighting, and that's one thing I've always loved about this team from the beginning, even going back to when we lost our game at Wichita State, and we were down 4 with just a few seconds left, and we were still fighting, and they were not giving up, and so this team continued to fight, and even I felt like at New Mexico State, I felt like we even earned another chance. We didn't get a 5-second call. I felt like might have been there. But they never quit fighting to the bitter end, and so I think this team is competitive. They're focused on being as good as we can be and competing at the highest level, and so I think it affects us more. We'll retaliate sometimes. We'll try to make a spectacular play instead of a simple fundamental play, and often those things result in either a turnover or a foul. And so as long as we stick to just the fundamentals, we're okay. And what we're working on is really maintaining possession and continuing to work that ball until we get the shot that we want. We know we're not going to make all those layups. Now, we can't go through a quarter and miss 7 layups. That's not okay. That's kind of embarrassing. And so we've got to keep working at that, and they are. But I do like how this team continues to fight regardless. If we're up 15 or if we're down 5, they're going to fight. And so that makes it's fun for the fans to watch that, and it makes you proud to coach players like that.
You mentioned routine earlier, and you've talked about that several times
Mhm.
throughout this year. Just getting classes back to schedule, playing even during exam week,
Mhm.
things like that. Is that something that's maybe specific to this year's group of girls? We've really seen them take ownership of that and really thrive off of that, or is that something you try to instill in your teams to really thrive off of that?
We try to always stick to that routine. There's enough craziness going on, and so whether it's travel or whether you're just here with your class schedule and injuries and illnesses and family, and there's just enough. So you just need as much routine as you can. I think that helps you not just mentally, that also helps you physically to be ready for a ball game, because your body kind of knows when it's supposed to perform. And so we try to stick to that routine. It's to be honest, it's a tough trip when you got to go to El Paso, and it's tough on your body. It's tough on the players from a sleep standpoint. And so we try the best we can to stick to that routine. And credit to the teams that can make that trip and get both wins. That's not an easy thing to do. I mean, Middle Tennessee even went to overtime against New Mexico. So it's a tough trip, but it's part of that home court. I hope they have as much trouble coming this way as we do going that way.
Now, kind of speaking of that, I mean, back home this week, but haven't really been on the road too much in conference play so far, but this second half you all will be. So kind of getting that really long trip out of the way now. You don't have to do it again for the rest of the season, but
Yeah.
you will be on the road a lot for the remainder of the year. So what's just like some things you kind of learn how to adjust whenever it comes to playing at home versus playing on the road?
Yeah, I think we'll reach back to our non-conference schedule, because we had several road trips there and had an opportunity to kind of, and we scheduled some of that intentionally to try to prepare for those road trips. And so, we're home this week, and then we go to Middle Tennessee, and then we've got one more home swing in senior night, and then we have 2 more road trips, and they're both in their own way long trips. That's just our conference. Yeah, when you got to go to Virginia and Miami, but even when you go to Ruston, Louisiana, and Houston, those aren't even as close as Las Cruces and El Paso, and so it's not like going to Murfreesboro to Bowling Green, and so they're still longer trips, and that's where the routine, as much as you can. We still have to get up at 3 a.m. to go catch a flight, and so sometimes we forget that, that's not normal. People don't normally get up for 3 a.m. for their job, unless I guess you're doing morning news. But and so we'll have to lean back, reach back, and take some of the lessons that we got from our non-conference travel schedule. But we've got some experienced players. Lexus Mead and Destiny Salary and Casey, Josie Gillen. They've been through this. They know what this is about. And even to Legdy and some of the other young ladies, they've been through this, through other schools, and so it won't be completely foreign. It doesn't mean it's easy, but I like the competitiveness and the focus that these young ladies have on what they're trying to accomplish. And so we'll get back in there and practice and get ready for Kennesaw State, and and I know they'll come in here ready to fight, just like Jacksonville State will, and then we'll get ready for those road trips.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys.
There's no easy